Internships, possibly more than one, seem to be a requirement these days. What tips do you have for students and companies regarding how to make that whole internship life cycle work out the best?
I'll start with this one because that's what I do a lot of to help students find their internships. I always ask the students to think their way through it, meaning try to understand what your preferences are going into an internship and a full-time position. What industries are you interested in and why? What companies you're interested in, why? Do you have a geographic preference or geographic restriction? Those are the types of things you need to think about because we'll have about 180 companies do some active talent acquisition, and you can't possibly be interested and prepared to work at all 180. So narrow your focus and let's start to think about it. On the corporate side, what is most important is that it's a meaningful opportunity for the student. They have to see that they're impacting the organization in some way, shape, or form. And you have to right size the internship, meaning if your strategy involves bringing in freshmen or sophomores to do an internship, you have to understand that they may not have had a lot of core supply chain courses, for example. Don't give them something that's over their skill set. So right size that internship. I think other keys are a welcoming environment and be ready. That first day is very important. The intern shows up at the location they're supposed to be at and, I didn't know you were going to be here today, or we don't have a computer ready for you, or I didn't know I was getting an intern this summer. So you have to be ready. And part of that readiness is actually staying in contact after they've accepted the position. I've seen some really good things that companies do, which I wish we'd have done when I was at Chrysler, because it just makes for a better environment. When they fill out their application, you know their birthday, for example. So there's nothing wrong with sending them a birthday card or some sort of a virtual Starbucks thing or something like that and wishing them a happy birthday. Contacting them 2 months before their internship starts and say, hey, Mike, we're really looking forward to you coming here. We're all set for you. Judy mentioned this before, and I want to reiterate it. Just remember, you're in a competitive environment. So you're competing for talent, and the students, they communicate much more broadly than they would have in the past. Your reputation as an employer depends a lot on how that student experiences that internship, because they could very well influence somebody for the same opportunity next year.
The other thing I would add is not just before the internship, but after the internship, keep communicating with them. Some companies will make an offer for full-time right away. Some companies may not be able to make that offer right away, maybe having to wait till the end of the year to determine how many people they're going to hire. But what I hear a lot from students is when I left, they said, keep in touch. What does that mean? The students don't necessarily know what that means. Am I supposed to email you weekly, or am I supposed to wait for you to call me? And I think that's even more complex with a lot of these internships that have been remote, because you don't have the same relationship with those people because you're not physically there every day with them, depending on what your internship was focused on. But have a plan for staying in contact with those interns, I think is really important. And then I think the other thing is similar to Kelly. The worst thing is showing up the first day and not having a role, a job, something that you're going to be working on. But then also think about before they show up. Is the student moving to a new state? What kind of things are you telling them about housing? Is a student left alone to search? Are there ways to connect them with other interns that they might be able to room together? So I think that's also part of that student experience as well. I've seen companies do a great job where they have all of that planned out. We have the housing for you. Here's what's going to happen, versus others where it's almost an assumption that you know the area, and they may not. So how can you help onboard that student, not just in terms of having meaningful work, but in terms of helping them get set up for personal success as well?
And if I could add one thing real quick, don't forget about the importance of social media to the people you're hiring right now. LinkedIn is what we primarily use in the business world, but others do a lot more beyond that. Say Instagram, for example. Put a little post on there. Judy just started here today. Welcome to ABC company. And then whoever's following them or their parents or whatever sees that. And it's like, oh, wow, how great. And that really builds your brand.